If you want to get people listening to your music, watch this video. I'm going to teach you how to sell your story. So here's the big question. How important is it as a music artist to have a strong story? Is it enough to write great songs and produce awesome sounding records? Is it enough to put on a great show and look the part? Perhaps it will be enough. But if you want to give yourself a competitive edge over the other 60,000 people uploading their songs every single day onto Spotify, use a medium that connects human beings, storytelling. You can win a place in people's hearts and minds. After all, people tend to be using the same 12 notes, or often 5 notes, and 4 chords. If you want to get people's attention and interest, storytelling is a powerful way to lead people into your songs. At the end of this video, I'm going to share 3 quickfire ways that you can get more interest in your story. One of them is a little bit dangerous, but you can't blame me if it all goes wrong. Your story could be the greatest asset you have when it comes to promoting your music. Several years ago, I met 2 sisters called Fern and Adrienne. They went by the name of Daughters of Davis. Most people would agree they ticked all of the boxes. They had great songs, incredible voices. They had bags of charm, personality, and charisma, but they had a secret weapon. Their secret weapon was their story. They bought a camper van off eBay and went touring town to town, city to city to try and make it in music. They ended up getting in all kinds of scrapes and situations. They ran out of money. The van was not a nice place to be. It was quite grotty. It was ridiculously cold in the winter, but they were determined to see their dream come into reality. I met the girls and I loved the songs, I loved the sound, but I really fell in love with the story and I wanted to help them to tell that story. So we crowdfunded some money to make a documentary. We called it Where Do We Go? Music, Mischief and Life in a Camper Van. I helped to produce the project with a guy called Andrew who used to work at my company, and it got some real interest in the press. People loved it. It was heartwarming, it was funny, and it was aspirational as well. It helped people to think, yeah, wow, these girls are really going for it. The press loved it. And then we managed to get them some funding from Help Musicians UK. They loved the story. They wanted to see the girls go further. And then we managed to show the documentary in theatres and cinemas. The press loved that as well. We then got a conversation going with a publicist who worked with the Caravan Club. They loved the story. They spoke to one of the van companies they work with and came back and offered the girls a van endorsement. We were given a free compact motorhome. They were given it for a year, and then doors started to open. We got the opportunity to tour with the Eels around Europe and Rebecca Ferguson and X Factor winner Sam Bailey. They got invited to open a tour for Peter Andre, ended up playing at the O2 Arena. Pun intended, there was so much mileage in this story. Don't neglect telling the tale you have to tell. It might win a place in people's hearts and minds and take you further than you can imagine. Storytelling is a fast and effective way to convert people into lifelong fans. For over 12 years, I had the pleasure of managing an amazing artist called Philippa Hanna. Philippa had a real gift when it came to telling her story. After wowing audiences with her opening song, she'd talk about growing up in a musical family, how she watched her dad, an Irish entertainer, on stage and hoped one day she could be just like him. She'd then sing another song and she'd pull a thread out of the song to talk about how she lost her way as a teenager. She'd then sing another song and she'd pull out something from that song to link to hitting rock bottom, to having broken relationships. And then she'd talk after the following song about how things turned around, how she found faith as a young adult. Philippa would take people through the journey. She could essentially take a cold audience and have them eating out the palm of her hand. I went to many shows where Philippa was the warm-up act and people went away with the CD, with the t-shirt and her book. If you have a story to tell within your songs, pull them out. Can you link them back to your wider story? Take your audience on an adventure, on a journey. You'll make fans for life every time you perform. I personally know just how difficult and frustrating it can be sharing new music. You spend time, energy and money on crafting a masterpiece, then you spend time, energy and money on promoting a masterpiece, and a lot of people just won't give it the time of day. There's just so much content out there. So remember this, The way in which you share your songs is often as important as the songs themselves. You probably don't like my music. Maybe you do, maybe you've listened to some of it. It's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. It's for people who like Christian worship music. That's not going to be everyone, I understand that. But the way in which I shared my songs when I started the Homegrown Worship community is interesting. There's a story attached to it. I did a song sharing marathon. I released a studio recording, lyric video and blog every single week. So even if you're not interested in my Christian faith and that switches you off, you might be interested in the story and the process of another creative practitioner. I then did my sprint. I released an album in a day. We wrote, recorded and released 10 brand new songs in a project called One Day. It was a kind of an anti-April Fool's joke. We did it on the 1st of April, 2020. How you share your songs is so important. And if you have a story around how you do that, it might grab people's attention. So here are 3 quickfire ways to get more engagement around your story. Firstly, ask yourself the question, is it really interesting? Will people click on the headline? Will they buy it? Because people don't buy boring stories. Secondly, could you use intrigue? If something sounds weird, wonderful, unusual, people are much more likely to click. People are curious. And finally, could you ignite discussion? Now, if you ask questions that will be really polarizing, it could backfire. It might be a bit dangerous. But if you do this well, it gets people onto your feed, it gets people into your story, and then into your songs. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it's encouraged you to tell and sell your story. It'll help you to go much further with your music. Do post a link to one of your songs in the comments section and attach a 3-line story. Tell us your journey as a music artist in 3 lines. I look forward to reading them. Have a great week.